The Roots of Success podcast is for the landscape professional who's looking to up their game. We're not talking lawns or grass here. We're talking about people, process, and profits. The things deep within the business that need focus to scale a successful company. From hiring the right people and managing your team to improving your operations and mastering your finances, we've got a brain trust of experts to help you nurture the roots of a successful business and grow to the next level. This is the Roots of Success.
Welcome to another episode of Roots of Success podcast. I'm your host, Tommy Cole. I'm excited to kick off our last episode of season 1. Wow, what an amazing year this has been. We appreciate all of our listeners, our amazing guests from this season. To wrap up season 1, we have an awesome guest. Her name is Karralynne Cromeens, and she is out of the Houston, Texas area. And she's actually got an awesome podcast called the Quit Getting Screwed Construction Podcast. Welcome to the show, Karralynne.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Tommy.
Yeah, this is going to be great. And I always got a comment. That's my most favorite sign in the backdrop. I was on your show not too long ago, and I love it. It is the best thing. It's my mantra. Just, I almost want to say, shut up and get shit done, right?
That's actually pretty good. Absolutely.
Yeah. We'll add to that. Karralynne, tell us all about you. Why are you here today in this seat?
Well, you know, a lot like my podcast, I'm here to help you not get screwed, right? I'm a construction lawyer, been a construction lawyer for 20 years. But even before I was a construction lawyer, I grew up in the industry. You know, my grandfather was an excavator contractor. My brother is an irrigation contractor. I just grew up in the business. I wasn't actually headed to construction law. I liked real estate, but in my last year at law school, my husband and I started a material supply company.
Okay.
And masonry materials. And so I was working for somebody else, but what we needed legally as a new business starting up took so much of my time, I couldn't work for anybody else. So I started the Cromeens law firm in 2006. And my first client was just our business out there collecting money. And it kind of grew from there through liens and collections, contract review, contract creation, but really designing the business from the client side, because we were the client, what the client needed. You can't wait for a week for an attorney to return a phone call. Yeah. Predictable fees, if you can have predictable fees, keeping you involved in what's going on. Because, you know, the legal side of things is very important. And I know a lot of people are scared of it, and they shouldn't be.
Right.
Because I'm a part of your team, just like your accountant, your CPA. Having me on staff and asking questions as they arise will prevent issues in the future. And that's really what I'm here for.
Yeah. You know, throw a curveball at you real quick to get this thing going. But they always say just get a good lawyer, right? You always hear that terminology, business owner, personal life. Like, what does that mean? Go get a good lawyer. Like, what does that mean in your perspective?
So especially in the construction industry, you want a lawyer that knows construction, right? I'm not going to do your divorce. I'm not going to do your will. I don't know any of that, right? I think lawyers are a lot like doctors. They have things that they're good at. And, you know, and to find a good construction lawyer, it's going to take some time. And so you want to do that before you actually need one, right?
Yeah.
And have the conversation. It won't take you very long to realize if they speak your language or not, right? You know, retainage and contract and how things work. You'll know change orders. If they have like the deer in the headlight look when you use those terms, it's probably not a good fit. Not saying that that's a bad lawyer. It's just not what they do, right?
Right.
I think, especially in the construction industry, you need somebody industry specific that knows what to look out for in lien waivers, how to draft a contract specifically for, and how to read subcontracts for your industry. And I think clients do sometimes, we're like the dentist, right? You don't go to the dentist, but you have to give me a phone call before you sign that contract. Or if you have a question about lien rights before you're owed money, we can really be very helpful on problem solving and issue solving on the beginning. So I think taking the time investing to find somebody that speaks your language before the issue arises. That way, when the issue arises, they're only a phone call away.
Yeah. I feel like it's another person in your arsenal, your tool belt equipment that says you just need to have this person or this company on your side, right? By the time you call somebody, it's way past, right? It's almost like the bank relationship. Mm-hmm. Have a small banking relationship, have a large banking relationship, develop it over time, years, meet with them annually, how's it's going. I would say team up someone like you or your company or someone similar that's in the industry and meet with them on a regular basis. How's the business going? Tell me
Absolutely.
what's going great, what's not going great. Would you agree with all that?
Absolutely. Especially, we meet quarterly to talk about your collections. What's in your contracts? Are you signing somebody else's contract? What issues are you facing on the daily, like either with your clients or something that might come up that you have no idea how to handle? Let's check in on those issues, because really tends to happen is that you get in trouble, you go to a lawyer, and if they're a good lawyer, they will push you to other things to deal with before they become issues, employment issues, all
Yes.
of that stuff we need to have a conversation about before it becomes an issue.
Yeah, love it, love it. So here's the burning question. Our audience is predominantly landscape people, business owners, employees, just getting into the business, and they're probably students out there. The big question I get all the time is, how do we not get in trouble as a business owner? Like, what's your recommendation there?
All right, the first thing you need to do is be incorporated. Whether
Okay.
and whether that's an LLC or an Inc., it really depends on tax purposes. But as long as you're registered, most states it's the Secretary of State, but some other states call something different.
Okay.
But go ahead and get a business and registered.
Okay.
The second part of that is if you are a partnership, I don't care, it's family, non-family related, have that agreement in writing
Oh my
and
gosh.
how to get out of it if it doesn't go right. I'm just not saying that it won't. Most of the times it won't, but just so you have a way out of it, right? The
Right.
main thing too is like, okay, so you're going to open your company, you're betting on yourself, which is the best bet. But if you're incorporated, it protects your personal assets, right? You can't go after your home or your personal bank accounts unless you waive that corporate protection. It protects you and allows you to have a business entity that would be responsible for any damages or anything like that. And a DBA just by itself is not an entity, right?
Oh, okay.
You can have a corporation or an LLC that then files a DBA. So say like you have, like my firm name is the Cromeens Law Firm. If I want to do business as TCLF, I can file a DBA under my business doing business as TCLF,
Okay.
right? That is effective. But if you just file a DBA in the county clerk's office or something, there is no protection. That just basically saying your individual self are doing business, which is no protection at all. So definitely invest the time and money to be incorporated. And if you have partners or doing this business with somebody beside yourself, have that in writing, whatever the terms of that are.
Good deal. I love it. I mean, we do find that quite often is the partnership is really not really spelled out, especially with acquisitions going on, especially just with changes of ownership over time, right? At
Yeah.
the end of the day, sometimes people drift in different ways. I mean, I've seen it. Some feel like there were more hours than other partners, and then at first have this divide, but there's always a legal document that says X, right?
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
second part of that question, how do we not get into legal trouble from the client perspective? What's your take on that?
So okay, so once we have you protected as an entity, the next thing is contract documents. And that's,
Okay.
if you're working directly for a homeowner, you want a contract. I don't care if it's a one-day job. I don't care if you're volunteering at your church. It needs to have something in writing.
Okay.
So you need to have, as a residential contractor, you need to have that contract. And then you also, if you're using subs, need a contract that way. That
Okay.
will prevent so many issues. And I know these guys, I've done it on a handshake for years. That's the way they've always done it. And that's
Yeah.
fine until it's not, right?
Right.
And really, a contract doesn't have to be full of legal terms that nobody understands. A contract's job is to manage expectations.
Okay.
And if it's clearly written and both parties can understand, it will actually help avoid disputes later on, right? Because homeowners have an idea in their head of how things are going to go that aren't necessarily based in reality, right? Things I see on HGTV or, this job is done in 2 days and look perfect, and they don't understand the process. And so the more we can go through that process and explain it in our contract, which, like every state has something they want to add to protect the homeowners. But really, if you have a well-written contract that everybody can understand, it will prevent so many issues in the future. And the other thing too is don't run from the issues. A lot of contractors like to, and because they don't know what to do, will ignore it. And it will only get worse if you ignore it, right? There is a certain way you can handle things, such as being upfront and having that communication. That's probably the number one thing that most contractors tell me make the most successful, and is the number one thing when people get sued that the homeowners say, well, I didn't know. Nobody told me. Nobody will never answer the phone, never answer texts.
Yeah.
So those are probably, and then if you're a commercial contractor or signing somebody else's contract, have it reviewed so you know what you're signing and you can understand the risk.
Yes.
Commercial subcontracts are a disaster. And if you go through them a couple times, you'll learn what's in there and understand the risk that you're taking before you actually sign them.
That's such a great the commercial side. There's always these hidden little things that they slide in, and most construction companies are just ready to sign because they're ready to get going. They're excited about that new job or that large project or something, and they just go. On the residential side is almost the same thing. It's Miss Smith's house, for whatever X money, it's really no big deal. Like, we'll just go. And it's almost like an awkward question. Can you sign the contract? Right? It's almost like you owe me money, right? As my AR is stacking up, right? But like, it's like, I got to make the phone call to collect the money. That's always the awkward time.
Mhm.
I feel like these are the two awkward times when you're like, can you sign that contract? Yeah, but Miss Smith, this is their third project, or, they're good friends, or we know them. They're just down the street. Like,
Those are the worst ones. Like 90% of the people that end up getting sued come in with, it was my friend or a friend of a friend. Those guys, they'll get contracts and they always get sued. So please, especially in this situation.
So landscapers can overthink. That's the number one thing I say. Just overthink and overthink. And when they say the word contract, it's not a 10-page document, right? It's just like, I just envision like a one-pager for a contract. Like, that's the bottom of the estimate that says you're going to, do the work and collect the money. Here's your expectations. That's what I'm used to. Also, same with subcontractors. It's a short document that you just go by every single job, and don't assume the subcontractor is just going to take care of everything and it's going to be bells and whistles, right? We oftentimes would have a master subcontractor agreement with a sub to do all of our work, right? And then we would have like that would be sort of more of the clause. And then we'd have just a one pager that was just
order.
Yeah, okay, that was just specific for this project. Mm-hmm. Any feedback on that?
No, absolutely. That's the way we set them up. And so for like the first part of that, presenting the homeowner with a contract, I know feels kind of awkward. And I would present it more of like, hey, I would like, if you're going to hire us, I'm going to go over kind of how we work the project and what's expected. And so you don't have to present it as a contract. You can present it as basically the directions of how we're going to work.
Agreement. Yeah,
exactly. This is our agreement. This is how we're going to work. This is what I'm going to do. This is what you're going to do. And so it doesn't have to be so awkward. Now with subs, I highly recommend a master subcontract agreement. Okay. And here's the thing. Just because someone signs a master sub doesn't mean they have to do all of your work. It just means when they do work for you, these terms and conditions are going to apply, and they only have to sign that part once. And then for each job, you issue them a work order, right? And there's some important things in that subcontract that will protect you. Number one, it really delegates them as an independent contractor. So that if someone gets hurt, they're not looking back to you like they're an employee. We'll also help for workers' comp audits. If they see that you have contractors and don't have written agreements with them, they're going to try to classify them as employees, right?
Right.
One of the other big things that I think contractors miss when subcontracting is, yes, we have their proof of insurance, but what the master sub says is you need to add me as additionally insured.
Yep.
And that becomes important because only the insured can file a claim. So if you just have that certificate of insurance, your sub still has to file the claim if there's an issue, right? Okay. The sub accidentally hits, I don't know, some underground line that has to be replaced, right? And he's nowhere to be found, so you can't find him. And if you don't have that additionally insured, you can't file the claim. So, and it doesn't cost that much for them to do it. It's like $25 up to $50, but the contract requires you're added as additionally insured. That way, if something happens, you can file your own claim. You don't have to wait on them to do it.
Okay. Got it. When you say get a legal leg up, what does that mean? Did we already discuss it, or do you have something else in your toolbox?
No, I mean, these are the most important things in corporations.
Okay.
Contracts with your customers, contracts with your subs, right? The next part of that is if you have employees, employee handbooks, written termination policy, all of that stuff, because that again can turn into another claim. And really taking the time to have a discussion with the lawyer. Are the people you're hiring subcontractors or are they employees, right? Just because you give them a 1099 doesn't mean they are a subcontract employee. And so we really need to have, because misclassifying someone can have huge ramifications and penalties and interest and attorney's fees and federal court and bleh. So,
So,
and here's
so are they either an employee of your business
Mhm.
or they're a subcontractor?
Correct.
One of those two.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
And there's a 6-factor test that they look at, but the most thing that you're looking at is the level of control, right? Are they only working for you? You're telling them when to show up. They're only working on your jobs. They're using your equipment. All of that stuff tends itself towards to be an employee. And here's the thing, if you're doing it wrong, work on fixing it. Don't just ignore it. And you can
Yes.
do that slowly. It's better to work on fixing it than to get caught doing it wrong and then try to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't get where you say like, just get the slap on the wrist for doing this pergola in the backyard. That's not to code. It's not one of those. This is like
Yeah.
a
Because here's the thing.
massive issue.
Yeah, you get sued in federal court for this one employee who claims they were misclassified. The first thing the federal court does is says, okay, give me your list of employees for the last 3 years. We're going to send them notice that they may be misclassified and can join this lawsuit.
Oh,
So,
that's why there's class action lawsuits all the time.
well, and it's not even a class action at that point because there's not that many, but it's still, you think if it happens, you're just going to settle with that one person.
Ah,
They're not even going to talk settlement
they're
until
digging way
they send
deep.
out that notice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thank God you're around, right?
Yes, and here's the thing is that you guys are really good at what you do, but if you're in the construction industry, you need a lawyer. You need somebody to bounce ideas off. I'm doing this wrong. How can we fix it?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And it's just part of the business.
Construction in general is a very tough industry to be in. It's one of the top 10 most stressful, industries known to man. It is high stress, high expectations, highly skilled, crafted fieldsmen, right? And project managers, like anything and everything can be used against you, right? At the end of the day. But I always tell everyone one of the biggest steps is to get an operational software package for your business and stop using spreadsheets and Word documents and napkins and all that, right? So that's like one of these little things, right? And the other thing I would say, Karralynne, is to have someone like you on their team immediately, right? Get everything lined out and set up in your business from day one, right? And if you're 10 years into the business, cool, not bad. You've winged it for 10 years. Congratulations. Take the step back and take the time back. It's just as sexy as getting a new piece of machinery and a new pickup truck and all those fancy, facilities and stuff. But if you are not lined up in this category, you will get screwed, right?
Absolutely. And here's the thing, if you want to scale your business or if you want to sell your business, these are all things that people are going to be looking at, right? You can't scale without processes.
Yeah.
A contract is part of that process, right? We do it on a flat fee and 5 business day turnaround because we know you're busy and we want something predictable, right? So we kind of built our system around that. These are all things that you lay in bed at night and think, I need to get that contract.
Yeah, I need it. Yep.
And you finally, especially if you've been in it for 10 years, you're really trying to look at scaling or doing things better. Make the phone call, right? It's not as bad as you think, I promise.
Yes. Just get the shit done, right?
Exactly.
Right?
Do it.
Okay. So I love this. You had an episode a little while back, and it was fascinating to me because this is what we coach do all the time. What gets measured gets managed. And it's none of this gut feeling about how you think is going on. There's a little bit of sense of, that if you have a bad feeling in your gut, right? You kind of that gut instinct, but take all that out of consideration. What gets measured gets managed. What is your take on that?
Well, see, so there's some parts of business that are the same across the board, right? And running a law firm, running a landscape business has similar components.
Okay.
So what that meant to me is I couldn't tell if I was making money or losing money until the end of the month. And by then it's too late.
Too late to make any changes.
No, exactly. And so I've really worked with my CPA and got a system where I'm checking the numbers daily. Is everybody meeting their billable requirements? So I can still within the month, I can have some effect and change, which is the same thing for you guys, right? Job costing. You have to know if you're making money or not. And if you set up a system where you can watch it daily, weekly, before the project's over to know if you're making money or not, or how to improve it on the next project, makes all the difference.
Yeah.
And there's intuition as being a business owner when you just know when things are messed up and you need to dive in. A lot of the times we don't want to dive in because of the energy and the effort it's going to take to fix it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's where the growth and the innovation comes in, is, making these systems to whatever, so you can manage it on a daily, on the weekly. So, that you have to know what's there to be able to be successful at if you want to stay in business for a long time.
Yeah. It's one of those things where like, the 10th of the following month, how did we do?
Exactly.
And you give me the numbers and I'm like, oh my gosh, that you're so far behind. Like you're already a half a month behind for the month that you're currently in, not alone the month previous.
Absolutely.
And we coach to this all the time. It's just to dive into your financial software, dive in your operating platform every single day and touch and pick and probe and understand where the money is going. There's always a paper trail of something going on. And at the end of the day, it's not about how you feel about that project or that client. I mean, you could have 100 clients that you're maintaining every week. And you're like, man, I've got a really healthy business. As long as there's a few bucks in the checking account is the healthy, right? That's not the way. And so that's what we coach to all the time. I love that mantra. What are some of the metrics that you've been doing in your practice and your construction business that you're measuring?
So like in my firm, I'm watching every day on the income that's coming in, the hours that are generated, the hours that are billed, the flat fees, just watching all of that on a daily basis. And like construction projects are kind of the same. I think you make a formula that you go off of, right? And then you manage that to make sure. And then when you bid the job, knowing what it's actually going to cost, everything is accounted for, and then making your markup, right? I do think landscape companies are in a unique position, especially if they're service companies, to create that service contract that allows that automatic renewal, which most construction companies don't get the benefit of a predictable income, right? If you have service contracts that bill monthly and that extend forever, you have that guaranteed income, which is, a guaranteed amount monthly. Also very attractive if you're going to sell your business, because you can say, hey, look, I have this cash coming in every month for my service clients. So I think you really do have a way. But getting a contract for that makes it way more marketable. Yeah. Because if you don't have a contract, they can just stop paying at any time.
At any time. Yeah. That's one of the benefits too. We have a lot of clients that they kind of go do the service and it's just never ending. What we encourage is have that annual contract or biannual or every 3 years and renew it and sign off on those things. Even though they could cancel as long as there's a 30-day notice, right? That's fine. Yeah. But have that agreement in hand if things get sticky. So that's also a previous one. But you also mentioned several things that we do. Budget versus actual. That's what we call, like, I bid the job at X. It came out in X. Yeah. How crazy. It's like almost a checkbook. Wait, we probably have some odd members that don't even know what a checkbook is, but like money coming in, money coming out, which is fine, right? But that's the standard of writing in a checkbook. I kind of wish we'd go back to those days. You could physically see it all, right?
Yeah, until you forgot to write something down.
Yeah, I know. And they have to go backtrack. Like, where was that $7 I spent somewhere? It's not adding up. My mom used to drive herself insane balancing the checkbook, right? And I'm like, Mom, you're worried about $7? Like, let's go. Yeah.
Time is worth more than $7.
I know.
But no, you're taking the time because like you said, you start out because you're good at the business. You don't realize very quickly it turns into the management of the business and making sure, that all these things, and that $7 getting lost somewhere that you don't know, it needs to be accounted for.
Yeah, 100%. Job costing is a really interesting deal. And when you do live job costing, that's a game changer because it's almost like you're driving a large cruise ship, right? And you can't just like make changes immediately because it's got to evolve. But I want to know how we're doing every single day, right? Revenue coming in, money going out. Do we have any jobs we're bidding? Do we have anything in the pipeline? Do we have any sales coming in, any calls, any leads, right? And it's this balance of sales and operations combined. And if you're looking at the metrics of the sales coming in and bidding versus what are we putting in the ground, what's the backlog? Is it 2 weeks or is it 4 months? Right? And so you're constantly as a business owner gauging those two ideas back and forth about the health of your business. But then let alone you have things like HR, legal, onboarding. That's what we say is like people didn't get in a landscape business because they're super excited about HR and contracts. Like, no, gosh. So that's why you've got to get really educated, right? Finance 101,
Yep.
those types of deals, and partner with people like you to just like, can you review things for me? That's a few $100 here and there is very well spent on something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like that lien waiver getting ready to sign. Are you signing away your lien rights without getting paid? These things are all things you need to know. And you need to know in a timely fashion. Like somebody sends you to something to sign it, right?
Yeah.
You want to know pretty
Yeah.
soon if you should sign it or you should not sign it, right?
Yeah.
Especially commercial contracts.
Yeah. Okay. So I got another question. You kind of sparked my interest. This sort of lien rights about getting paid, kind of in a snapshot as landscape business owners, what should they be doing to get paid? There's this little like process of when you should do these things, when you shouldn't, 30 days or 60 days, but I'm hearing that you got to get a little ahead in the lien process early on. Do you have any advice for that?
Yeah. So there's literally 50 different ways to file a lien. Just depends on the state that you're in.
Okay.
So what I recommend is knowing what the lien rights are for your state. So that way you can protect yourself based on, you're not in the middle of it saying, I'm owing $100,000. Now what should I do? Right.
Okay. Okay.
When you're like, some states have pre-lien notices that you have to go out with, like California, Florida have pre-lien notices that have to go out when you first work. Other states don't have any notices till later on. So really diving in just to figure out what they are, right? And then knowing who you're going to contact if something arises. I think the biggest thing that any construction company can do is having a consistent collection strategy, regardless of what the promise of payment, right? If I'm not paid at 30 days, here's what I'm going to do. I'm not paid at 60 days, here's what I'm going to do. And it doesn't matter if somebody says they're going to pay me, that's great. Then come in and pay me. If not, this is what I'm going to do. Right. Yeah. And base that around the lien rights for your state. The one thing I can tell you that is most of them have lien rights towards the end of the job. There's nothing wrong with sending a notice early. You can always send it early. You can always lien early. Sending it late is when you get penalized. So, really taking the time to dive in and figure out what it is for your state. We can have a conversation about it. I've studied all 50 states. It's very different. Very different per state on how they do that. But it is the best leverage anyone in the construction industry has. Yeah. Because besides residential contractors, most construction is you work and then wait to get paid. Mm-hmm. And you're extending credit. And when you have a contract, you have an unsecured debt.
Yeah.
If you file a lien, now the amounts you're owed are secured by the property, just like a mortgage or something else that you're entitled to be paid. And so there are extreme rights, but knowing how they work right for your state is important.
Yeah, very well said. You hit the nail on the head about collections. And most of us as business owners, it's not a standard process to collect money.
Yeah.
There's emotional attachment to some of these things. That's why we always recommend of signing the week to week, the day-to-day collections to somebody else. Cause there's not, I know Miss Smith and she's okay. And she's fine. And there's
the salesman.
Yeah. Or the salesperson. Right. Just get it to somebody that's the office manager. And they're like, They're calling, there's no attachment to it. But so we always recommend, 2 to 3 days a week, calls, emails, texts, constant following up, but like invoice immediately.
Absolutely.
Right. Just get the invoice out. The quicker and the longer.
Tell them that you're owing money, they're not going to pay you. Right.
Yeah. And like when you're getting things done, they're most excited. Nothing's more frustrating than a month past you're already done. And then you invoice and they're like, well, something happened. This cracked or this died or whatever it may be happens. And it's less every day that goes by, you're less likely to get paid in full.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely. Love it. So collections, and know your lien rights in each state. But I'm a huge fan of just collect it and be open with these people up front.
Well, that's what, like the contract, like even if you're doing just a 2-day job, we have deposit, the remaining balance upon completion, being upfront about when you expect the money. If you're doing a longer job than that has milestone payments, spelling that out in the contract. And then when you hit that milestone, sending them an invoice.
Yeah.
And saying, and that's the other thing too, is send them an invoice and say, if you don't pay it within 5 days, I'm going to stop working. If you don't give yourself that right, you might not technically have it depending on the state that you're in.
Yeah. Right. Love it. So I love the motto that's behind your head. Where did that come from?
Well, so I was writing an article about who I really represented and where I really came from. And I represent the get shit done crew. And that's who I am because that's
Yeah.
where I came from. And I think it's hard to find a lawyer that has that same mindset as their clients of like, we're out there getting shit done. I need somebody that's going to get shit done on this side too. And that just became the motto because that's what we do.
I love it. I was reading your bio earlier, and you said, a lot of lawyers can just be in the long game, right? Like, I'm here, and we're going to walk through this, and we're going to talk about it, and I'm going to bill you, and it just drags out. But yet, Karralynne is a little bit different. You're like, I'm going to get you to where you need to be, and then you're going to go on to your construction. It's no different than us I would love to hang out with you every single week and be on a coaching call, but not really. Let's work on this issue right now and get the heck out of here and move on to building your company and working on. And when things arise, that's what I like about you. And that's why I love the motto. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like you don't want to spend time talking to me. I know I got things to do, like, but that's my strategy with everything I do for my clients. It's not, I'm trying to find the quickest and most efficient way to the result that you want, right? Whether that's through leveraging a situation or designing a contract in 5 days, right? That's my goal, is to get it done so you can move on. You don't want to spend money with a lawyer. Time is better spent growing your business.
Yeah. What's one more nugget you can leave with our audience that you are live and die by? This is Karralynne to the T, besides the getting shit done. Give me something that's is it just hard work and putting in the time?
No, I think you have to approach challenges from a different perspective, right? Because as business owners, we face tons of challenges, and every obstacle is a detour in the right direction. 100%. And that's Gabby Bernstein, for everybody. I'm quoting her, meaning that if you have a challenge, don't get pissed off at it. Yeah. Figure a way around it, and that's what you're supposed to learn, right? Yeah. Business owners get pissed when things don't go the way that they're supposed to, but it's really a chance to dive in and to figure out how to fix it, so we can learn from it.
Yeah. Actually, we signed up for this as entrepreneurs and business owners, right? We
exactly
signed up for it.
And most of the stress comes from you're getting upset about a situation that is not the way you want it to be.
Yeah. This is actually, it's an opportunity, right? It's an opportunity to improve something in your business that kind of is like a yellow flag. Like, it's something we got to work on. It's no different than a sports franchise trying to win a game.
Agree.
Like, if everyone went out there and perfected their job in a game, we wouldn't need managers and coaches and people like that along the way at the end of the day. And that's the difference in business. It's like,
I agree. I was watching a speech by Jensen Wong, who is a huge IT success. And he was speaking, and he says, I wish you lots of pain, because pain brings innovation and growth.
Yes.
And so...
Yes, I love it.
Unfortunately, that growth comes from that stuff. If you want to grow and you want to innovate, there's pain involved.
It's the reality we live in, right? It's the reality of it. It's no different than, at my age or my son's age, and at the end of the day, you're supposed to go through challenges in life to build your skin much thicker than others. And if you don't want that, there's people that just were like, I'm good where I'm at. I'm just going to go clock in and take care of my business, and I'm out of here. And there's plenty of them. Absolutely. But if you're wanting a successful business and you want to provide for families and people and make a huge name for us, because there's ungodly amount of opportunities in this country that are massive, then get up and go after it. At the end of the day, everything that evolves are small obstacles to your entire journey, right? It's a long journey.
And just having faith that you're going to figure it out, because you'll figure it out. It's going to suck. It's going to be painful. It might take a lot of time, but you'll figure it out. Yeah.
Love it. Well, Karralynne, it's always a huge pleasure. Thank you for joining us on our show. We have tons of little nuggets about what to do to not get in trouble legally, like get your business set up with an LLC, incorporation, all that. Get contracts signed. Don't be that awkward person. Get them signed. Get the subcontractors signed up. Have a reoccurring thing with your subs every single year. Get things updated. Have the small work orders with them for each and every job along the way. I love this. What gets measured gets managed. At the end of the day, it should be about the income coming in and out, expenses in and out, same month transactions, jobs, budget versus actual. She's running construction practice. She's running a law firm practice. We do landscaping. It's all the same at the end of the day, just a different
Absolutely.
product, right?
Absolutely.
You got to manage the numbers just as much as we do.
Yeah.
And my most favorite thing is just get shit done. I love it. Thanks again, Karralynne.
Thank you for having me.
Ready to take the next step? Download our free profitability scorecard to quickly create your own baseline financial assessment and uncover the fastest ways to improve your business. Just go to mcfarlandstanford.com/scorecard to get yours today. To learn more about McFarland Stanford, our best-in-class peer groups, and other services, go to our website at mcfarlandstanford.com, and don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. See you next time on The Roots of Success.